It isn't rare to see a player go from potential world best to being seen as a wasted talent in football. This is the tragic tale of Paul Pogba. In this episode, we'll be going over Pogba's rise to being considered one of the world's top footballing talents, and then uncovering the series of unfortunate and reckless mistakes that would end up with him risking being banned from football. Pogba settled into life in England well when he arrived from France. After a successful run with the Manchester United youth team, he was called up to the first team in 2010. Although he didn't break into the first team, he continued working on his craft until he was promoted to the senior team on a permanent basis. In the 2011 to 2012 season, he made his official Premier League debut against Stoke City in January of 2012, playing a total of 18 minutes. Though he had made it into the first team, Paul wasn't satisfied with the number of minutes he was getting. United's manager at the time, Sir Alex Ferguson, had made it public that the young star would get more playing time. But Pogba wanted an opportunity to show what he was really capable of. He had shown signs of huge potential and wanted to show it off to the world. So, in 2012, Pogba was allowed to leave Manchester United on a free transfer. The youngster signed to Italian giant Juventus, who played in the Serie A, the top league in Italy. In his maiden season with Juventus, he made a total of 37 appearances, scoring 5 goals, quickly establishing himself as a key player in the squad. Paul went on to win the next 4 Serie A titles with Juventus. It was in these 4 years that Pogba started to develop a real name for himself, with some considering him to be one of the world's greatest midfielders at the time. Pogba was a huge player, and at 6'3", he had the ability to protect the ball efficiently, glide through defenders with speed, make really impressive long-range passes, and score from a near impossible range. These attributes made him one of the most sought-out players for any of the best teams in Europe. He was among the 23 players who were nominated in contention for the most prestigious individual award in world football, the Ballon d'Or, as well as making it into the 2015 FIFA Pro World 11. Pogba was only 21 at the time, but the world saw him as a prospect to become one of the world's greatest players in an era that still had the likes of Neymar, Messi, and Cristiano Ronaldo. In his 4 years at the club, he would win a total of 9 trophies: 4 league titles, 3 Italian Super Cups, and 2 Italian Cups. He made 178 appearances with 34 goals and 41 assists, thus writing his name in the club's history as one of the most impressive talents. In the 2016-17 season, Paul Pogba returned to Manchester United on a 5-year contract for a whopping 105 million euros transfer fee, a record fee at the time. His first season at the club would be a great one. He would go on to make 51 appearances for the club, scoring 9 goals and helping Manchester United end a 3-year trophy drought, securing the Community Shield, FA Cup, and Europa League under Jose Mourinho. However, in the next season, Man United's form dipped, and Pogba started to attract significant criticism, with many branding him as incredibly inconsistent. It was a roller coaster of good and bad performances, where he would often show glimpses of his old Juventus self, the French magician, that grabbed the attention of fans. This inconsistency led many to brand him as a flop, especially when tied to his 105 million euros price tag. This season didn't have a good result at all, leaving his future very unknown. Despite these performances, the manager Jose Mourinho still had faith in Pogba and made the captain in the beginning of the 2018-2019 season. He would go on to start the season well, scoring 4 goals. However, after a string of disappointing results, Mourinho would reverse that decision, stating that Pogba would never captain Man United again. Paul would go on to be dropped for the following game against Derby County in the Carabao Cup, which would end in shock defeat, losing 8-7 on penalties. In late September, the two would end up having a very notorious public fallout on the training pitch, where the two exchanged words. It was rumored that this fallout was due to an Instagram story made by Paul, laughing with friends following United's shock defeat by Derby. But the two never confirmed specifics and will never know if his story was really about the game. Mourinho once labelled him a virus who negatively influenced the form of the team, but a 3-1 loss to Liverpool was the nail in the coffin that had Jose sacked from the club, with Ole Solskjaer being appointed as interim manager. Under the temporary manager, Paul saw a revival of form, scoring 16 goals and putting up 11 assists for the Reds. Pogba had picked form again. But overall, Man United couldn't win anything. Over the next 3 seasons, it was more of the same. In almost every transfer window, there'd be rumours of his departure from Old Trafford. His failure to perform at United warranted increased criticism for his performance, with multiple pundits who publicly ridiculed him. The aura around Paul had gone from one of the world's most exciting transfers to one of football's biggest disappointments. After 6 disappointing years back at United and achieving very little despite his huge transfer fee, Paul would make the decision to leave at the expiration of his contract. On the 11th of July 2022, Paul would announce that he would be returning to Juventus. But in order for Juventus to sign him, however, Pogba had to take a 55% wage cut in contrast to his earnings at Manchester United. He took the deal and returned to the Old Lady, a club where he had first become a superstar. However, only 2 weeks later, after this transfer, Pogba will suffer a knee injury that would see him sidelined for at least 2 months and rout him out of any club competitions until the World Cup 2022. He eventually made his Juventus debut in February 2023, making a few appearances from the bench until in March of 2023, when he was dropped by Allegri, his then manager, due to disciplinary reasons, stating that he had turned up late to a team event. 4 days later, it was reported that Pogba had suffered yet another injury in training that would have him out for further 3 weeks. Pogba resumed play in May of 2023 in a league match against Cremonese, but after only 23 short minutes, he had to be substituted due to a muscle injury in his thigh. After scans, it would be reported that Paul would be out for the major of the season after only playing a total of 161 minutes for the club over a 10-month period. It was at this point that it was reported that Juventus was seeking to lower his salary after only making a handful of appearances and failing to justify his massive salary. In October of 2023, after failing a random drug test for testosterone B, Pogba would face an indefinite ban that would see him gone from football entirely. But if he is able to prove that he took the drug unintentionally, his sentence might be reduced to 2 years. Pogba would remain one of the greatest what-ifs in football, as a string of poor choices and bad transfers led to his ultimate downfall.